All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. So today, the episode I want to call it is "Quit Being a Bitch," because I see more than ever society, in my eyes, being a bitch. Especially if you don't believe in their political beliefs, even their religious beliefs, or whatever bullshit they're pitching that day. And it could be mainly on social. I should say mainly on social media. People acting like a bitch, and I don't know when it got like this, and I'm mainly talking about men. I can't speak for women, but just I'm going through what a lot of people I see on Facebook, Twitter. I don't go on Instagram, even LinkedIn, and even discussions I see all around that are kind of a bunch of fucking nonsense, to be honest with you. It's so much wasted time. And here's the thing, too. I'm not going to get into politics because I'm not a politician, nor do I have any interest in that. But if you look at what everybody is almost claiming, all these problems that are happening, if you ask me, these are the good times. I don't know what anybody's talking about. If you turn the news off and never listen to one thing politically right now, I'm just saying, from a standpoint, from what I see, things, again, couldn't be better. I'm not saying that I'm a millionaire and I ended up in a mansion or I'm driving a Ferrari or any of this bullshit. I'm saying from the standpoint, I think from what I see, terrorism's way down. At least in our country, it is. Seems like it is. Seems like it really is. Unemployment seems lower. My kids and my girlfriend's kids, whenever they need to find a job, they found one very quickly. Obviously, I have a job. I'm able to do a lot of things. Travel. My girlfriend's got a wonderful job, actually. And my kids are going to school. All the kids, everybody's going to college. They have jobs, and they all have nice cars. They're cruising around because I remember when, I'm going on 50. I know what the bad times are, off and on, economy and everything. And this doesn't mean I'm sticking up for either side, Republican, Democrat, or anything. But again, if you just turn the noise off, the nonsense. Just look at your life independently. How is your life? Now, you may have your life may be shitty. I'm not going to say. You may have an illness. You may be in a financial situation. I know, I've been there. But on a whole, I'm saying, at least the people I'm around a lot of people that don't have a lot of money, a lot of people that are middle class, and a lot of wealthy people. So I kind of cover the gamut. Just because I have so many family members, and truthfully, I have a lot of friends from all over North America. And a lot of them that have companies seem to be doing really well. A lot of people I know that are working, they're not getting fired or losing their jobs. A lot of them are just living a better life from what I've seen. And I think they're being treated better than for at least that I'm seeing. And because I've been around the times where people are all losing their homes, no jobs. I'm not saying I was around the Depression, but I'm telling you, I've been through the 70s, which were nuts. I've been through the 80s, which were crazy as well. The 2008 type thing, where everybody was literally, I call it the divorce state. Everybody was getting divorced. Everybody had divorced. Everybody was having financial issues. People were all upside down in their homes. Tons of different things. So, if you really look at it, if everybody else that I think for the most part I think they found something to bitch about, which is politics for the most part, especially on social media. And if you don't agree with them, they're all pissy, or they're fighting with you, or they think their opinion, either way, is the only right opinion. When I talk about this all the time, most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Most of the information people are getting is not even secondhand or third. They're getting it from news outlets, which I think are full of shit, even since I was a little boy. I think most of what you hear in your life and most of what you read are full of shit. Now, if you don't understand that, just go to your own life and take two friends that end up in a fight. I'll just bring it really close, or family members, and say they're in an argument and they fight. And then you talk to one, they'll give you their point of view, and you talk to the other, they'll give you their point of view, and then there's the truth in the middle. But sometimes one's telling the truth and more than the other, whatever the case may be. But the truth is, those are the only two that really know what happened. Just like if you end up in a jam or a beef, you know what happened, right? When you tell somebody else, you're usually only going to tell your side of the story or how you perceive it, right? In their case, they're manipulating everything because they want you to keep watching. And if they don't build drama or anxiety or put fear inside of you or make you feel like you're going to be missing something, then What's their job? Because it's all advertising. It's all about making money. You know that, hopefully. My point being is, don't trust almost anything you truly hear. You just got to figure it out for yourself. And I know a lot of times people are like, you're full of shit, man. That's the truth. I seen that happened and that happened. And as you know, a lot of times as time goes on, how many things were covered up? And even when things get exposed, how much were they exposed? Like, who really was involved? Who wasn't? Things aren't really always what you see. Or seem, I should say, as well. So really think about that. And instead of condemning everybody, right? And again, acting like a bitch, learn to just shut up and comprehend it and take it in. And I get sometimes we want to argue over certain things. But if you're arguing, make sure it's a valid argument. So if you're in your home, for instance, and you're arguing with your kids or your loved ones or anybody, that's something to argue about and something that you have something that's tangible. If you're arguing for some politicians or religious figures or public figures that you don't know anything about their life, you're you're an asshole because you don't even know that person. And I'm not saying you can't stand up for that person. But the truth of the matter is you really don't know these people at all. You're only, you're really sticking up for them because of what you're hearing from, by the time it reaches you, it's so distorted. I remember once in my religion class, we did a thing and we talked about the Bible from when it went from one person to the next, who wrote it, this and that, and how stories get so screwed up. And they did it in the classroom where the teacher came and wrote down something and told one student. And then he wanted each student, it would start to be at the corner of the class, and then it would go from one student, then the next student would have to tell the guy behind him that same story and the next one behind him, and then he worked it all the way to the last student. And he didn't want the first person, the last student, hearing what the first story was. Literally by the time it reached the last person, it was an entirely different subject, had nothing to do with what the original story was even about. That's how far gone. Now, I'm not saying it gets that far with the news and that a lot of things aren't factual. Don't get this screwed up. But a lot of things aren't. And you got to realize that. You got to be kind of smart too. And if you believe every damn thing that's being posted on social media, you're a lunatic. You really got to smarten up. Because a lot of that shit is bullshit. Right? Just because you see it or it looks professionally written and it has a professional photo. And you know what was interesting the other day, just from a fluke thing. So I travel all over the country, going to a lot of malls. So I go to West Edmonton Mall, which is the biggest mall in North America. It was, I think, at one time, maybe the biggest in the world. So to make a long story short, my buddy sent me a thing and said, South Miami's building a massive mall, a mega mall. And the photo they were using, I looked at it and said, wait a minute, this is Edmonton Mall's pool. They have a huge wave pool, what would I call it? Kind of like a Wet n Wild, Blizzard Beach, Typhoon Lagoon, a water park. That's the word I'm looking for. So they have a huge water park inside of their mall. They have a theme park, water park, hotel, skating rink, right? Okay. So it looks like Miami wants to do the same thing. But what was interesting is, so the picture was, I'm looking at it, I go, I've been to this water park. I'm like, that's that exact water park. Why is South Florida using that photo? Like, maybe they have the rights. Maybe it's the same company. I don't know. But the point being is that was the photo. And then when you clicked on it, it says Building Mega Mall, South Florida. And then it shows you the exterior of the mall, some other things. And then it showed you the picture of the water park. And it said like, it was kind of like a drawing of what the water park's going to look like. And I said, no, this is an actual, and I looked at another photo. I just had to do it for my own research. It was that water park. What was interesting is they're using another mall. Again, I don't know if they're affiliated with one another. They can do whatever they want. But they were showing you that this is what the water park's going to look like. And I said, oh, wow, they're knocking it off. But what was interesting is they said it was like a drawing underneath. This is a drawing of what the water park's going to look like. I'm like, no, that's an actual photo of another water park. They basically just stole it and kind of just changed the graphics. Anyways, my point being is the marketing, the internet, social media, everything is, in my eyes, kind of a con. They're just showing you, they're ripping other people off left and right, or they're telling you things that aren't really factual. And that's a small scale thing, and I don't even know I brought that up to a certain degree, but I'm just saying that was just one thing I'm looking at going, wow, if I didn't know that. So people would be like, oh, this is what the water park's going to look like. Yeah, but actually that water park already exists in another mall. That I doubt, maybe they're going to build the identical same water park. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But it looked like they were almost pitching it as this is going to be their unique water park that nobody else in the U.S. has. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's another, well, you could say U.S., but there's one in North America. But anyways, my point being, again, is don't trust what you're reading. That goes for newspapers, even magazines, and especially if you follow public figures. A lot of shit they're pitching, they don't know as much as they're claiming they know. Everyone's just trying, I think, a lot of times they're pretending to be something they're not, and they're pretending to know a lot more than they know. And you just got to be smarter than that. Right, and I am definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I don't know if I got it from my mother and father, but they kind of read through bullshit real quick. And I think just being raised in the nightclub bar industry, I look at everything as, I used to call it prison talk a lot of times. And, well, I shouldn't say prison. Originally, I used to just call it nightclub talk or bar talk. People in the bar, they're just always talking shit, right? You can almost see them flip-flopping, just talk, and there's really no... There's not even a lot of common sense behind it. They're just talking to talk. It could be about sports, politics, religion. It could be about anything. Construction, real estate. They're just yapping. They're spewing out what they heard from somebody else who doesn't know any more than they do, and then they're getting their information, and it's outdated. All this type of shit. And then when I got older, I realized I called it prison talk with a lot of people. And I don't know if you know anybody who's been in the joint for long periods of time, but they get so bored, they just sit there and they talk for long periods of time about nonsense or nothing. And again, they're in prison, and the only knowledge they're getting is probably from a television or a radio, and they don't really know what's going on. But I had guys that I knew that would come out of the joint, and they were talking about all different things. I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. They really, if you sat back and said, do you really know what you're talking about? You got to really comprehend and sit back, and I think a lot of us give people the benefit of the doubt. And that goes for people that are in certain industries. And I just went through this with my partner regarding my program, Mastering Self-Confidence, which I kind of caught myself. He's younger, he's much younger, he's in his early 20s, and I'm obviously going into my 50s, and I try to help him with many different things. So he's trying to get a new car. And then he says, Rich, I'm thinking about leasing a car. And I was like, well, I've leased cars, and the thing is, usually you got either they have a lot of different things, but let's just get to the point is he travels a lot driving. He does a lot of driving. I said, usually you're restricted on your miles when you lease, right? You can put maybe less money down, your car payment may be more, or if you want to put more money down, your car payment can be less, but a lot of it is built around the miles. They only want you to go, whatever deal it is, it could be 12,000, 15,000, 17. Usually it's around there. I don't usually see leases for 20,000. But what do I know? I haven't done one in many, many years, and that was kind of my point. And then he says, yeah, I go on this app, but that you can do this and that now, and I think it's, and I said, you know what, Omar? Here's the truth is you're young. I'm just going to tell you, I haven't leased a car in a long time. This is something that I'm not an expert in by any means, but I think now with technology and with apps, even websites, and with all these different things going on with dealerships, and just in general, there probably is all these different types of things regarding leasing cars. Before you only, for the most part, were leasing newer cars. When I was leasing cars, it wasn't easy to lease older cars, maybe 2 years old, 2 to 4 years, maybe. But he was talking about leasing older cars. And my point being is, I'm like, hey, there are so many things out there I don't know about that I shouldn't even be giving advice on. My advice should be like, hey, do the research, figure out if they do lease older cars, and because that's what he wanted to do, and figure out he wanted to find a car he could lease that put more miles on a car. I didn't know that existed. I still don't know. Either does he. But my point being, again, is I think a lot of us, especially middle-aged or older, we have knowledge that we can help younger people. But they have a lot of knowledge that they can help us as well. But the way things were, they're definitely not now. And technology changed all that. I mean, even getting, we just went through this with my girlfriend, with her father, getting the title transferred over. You can do that online now. He didn't know that. He still thought you had to go to the DMV or you got to go down to the, wherever. and do all this manually and all this shit. She's like, no, I'll do that for you right now, Dad. We can do it online. And again, she knew that because she's done it before, but he never knew that, and he's older. But my point being is there's all these different things that are going on to make things easier. You just probably don't know about it. And I think, again, information, there's so much information out there. It's flooded, but a lot of information we're getting is wrong information. But if we do a little research, we can actually find the right information if we really, and also, even if we can't get consumed in the information is what I should say. Because a lot of times, again, I believe what we're seeing is a lot of full of shit, and you're only being seen what people want to show you, right? It'd be very similar to you as a person. A lot of people have all these different flaws or do all these different things, and you don't know about them. And nor should you necessarily. It's maybe none of your business. But I think a lot of us think that regardless if you're political or you're a public figure, we need to know your business, right? We're like a TMZ or some bullshit. That's really, if you think about, none of our business, but we kind of get caught up with making it our business. So, just sit back and figure that out. I think, and again, back to guys, stop getting nuts on social media and arguing, bitching. If you think and I get you have your points to prove, but if you're sitting there arguing, or if you're sitting there, intentionally hurting other people's feelings or saying shit, you're just a jagoff, right? You're not really doing it for the right reasons. I can see, having your points, and there's a way to kind of prove your point without hurting others or bashing others or yelling at other people or trying to always prove that they're wrong. And sometimes I think and you can also do it in a funny way. But the difference between kind of doing it funny, and you got to know the people as well, because I think, like everything else, when you read something, depending, I believe, on what mood you're in, that's how you're going to interpret it, right? A lot of times. And if you're already if it's a subject that aggravates you, you're already kind of aggravated, right? Especially you could tell by the post, the way it's worded, obviously, or the way there's a photo attached, or just the title of the story. Don't let that shit interfere with you. Don't let what other people are writing on the internet or news media or all this other shit make you piss you off. Because here's another thing too. I travel constantly, and if you watch the news with the weather now, and all of a sudden that became like the big opening thing. You watch the weather. I couldn't travel anywhere, and I travel everywhere. Believe me, all over North America, and they would make it sound like you can't travel anywhere. They'll make it sound like the flights are all delayed, which some are. I mean, I run into that. There's a blizzard coming. Flooding here, storms here, everything's an issue. I'm like, how's anybody getting anywhere? I mean, I do have some small issues, but again, if you watch the news, you'd swear to God you couldn't do anything. And of course, everything they're showing you is a car losing control, a truck flipping over. A lot of these areas that they're showing you are full, they're small little pockets, right? You can still travel. Planes are still going up and down. You can still drive. I do it everywhere. And I'm always getting calls like, oh my God, and I just went through this in Northern Cal. I was just in San Jose area. Oh my God, they're flooding. You can't do this, you can't do that. I drove everywhere freely, but then I did hear some roads would be closed. So instead of me driving, I just had to get on another plane. I went from San Jose to LAX. Don't make a big deal about it. If everybody was my mother, everybody, my girlfriend, everybody, how are you going to do this? The floods, they're showing all these areas. I'm like, you just do it. But I don't get consumed in what, again, the news, social media, what everybody else is sharing, all these different things. I'm in it. I'm living it. And most of what they're saying, I'm not saying it's not accurate when they're showing like a hurricane or a tornado went through a certain neighborhood in Alabama and it nailed that. But if you step back and say, wow, what area of Alabama? Oh, it's a small little town or this area got hit. Not all of Alabama, right? California, you know how big California is? Yeah, they have mudslides. Where? Right? Okay, these specific areas. I get even fires. I get it. Sometimes those fires are massive. I've been involved with those where I literally was engulfed in San Diego when I lived in Carlsbad. That was crazy. And again, there are extremes, but I'm saying for the most part, don't get caught up in all this bullshit. And stop believing a lot of what you see and then bitching about it, really. All right? All right. I'm going to leave it at that. I have a YouTube channel, CELENZA, if you'd like to check that out. What else do I got? We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I got a Facebook page, and obviously this podcast. And listen, guys or girls or whoever's listening, I'm not trying to be offensive. Sometimes I think I come off for calling people a bitch. It's not about that. I just want you to really think about, other people's feelings too, when you lash out, and sometimes look at your own behavior even at home, because I used to do this too. Like when things don't go my way, I bitch about them. Why should it always go my way, right? It shouldn't necessarily have to always go my way. Okay, you may pay more bills than everybody else, or you're the adult, or you're the parent, or whatever the case may be. People, just balance your life out, man. And if you stop bitching, if you bitch less and just kind of lived your life and just listened more and just not got caught up with all the noise and just kind of moved forward, I think you'd be a lot better off. Because a lot of times bitching about something, and I get it, we get aggravated, but there's a way sometimes, if you're, and I've been there, where you're always yelling or you're screaming, that could be at your kids, whoever you're married to, or your friends or family members. What is this doing for you? It's not doing much. And again, lead by example. I say, like, I'm just getting too old and tired to really argue about most things. So I kind of more listen to people, and just like, either I can disagree with them, but I don't have to get into a screaming match with them. Even on social media, I can kind of disagree with them, but I don't always have to leave a comment. I don't even like to post anything negative, and that goes with texts or emails or anything. Is it worth the fight? And also, is it worth me looking a certain way? I don't want to be the guy who was, the guy who wants to fight everybody or argue with everybody or scream or just be that type of person. I don't think a lot of us set out to be that type of person, but we end up kind of falling into that trap of being that person without even knowing it sometimes, right? Anyways, all right, I'm going to leave it at that. Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.